You're listening to Satellite Sisters.
What's a satellite sister?
The person you call when the best thing in your life happens or the worst.
The person that gets you up, gets you going, and gets you through.
And every once in a while, changes your mind.
This podcast is part pep talk, part weekly check-in.
Like grabbing coffee with a friend.
Thanks for being here. Welcome to the Satellite Sisterhood.
You're listening to Satellite Sisters. It's great to be with you today. I'm Lian Dolan in Pasadena, California. But today I'm really in Paris in my mind because my new novel, Lost and Found in Paris, debuts today. It is out, people. So Liz, Julie, our question of the day. Any good book recommendations? What are you recommending? What are you recommending, Liz? What's up?
Okay,
What's up?
This is Liz. I'm the middle sister. I'm in Santa Monica, California. I picked up this little thing. It's called an art history treasure hunt, Lian.
Sounds good.
I had never heard of this genre before. It's called Lost and Found in Paris, and I'm loving it.
Hi, this is Julie Dolan. I'm the oldest sister, and I live in Dallas, Texas. And yeah, I was hunting around for some kind of book that would have adventure, that would have romance, that would have intrigue. Yeah, Lost and Found in Paris. How about that?
It's incredible that we're all reading and recommending the same book. Well done.
Well, no kidding. Congratulations, Lian. It is a huge thing to get a book written, published, and out into the world. Congratulations.
And we're very proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm proud of me. No, I am. This is a long time coming. So this is our special We Love Paris episode. We're not going to talk about the book the whole time, but we are going to talk about it a little bit because this book inspired this episode, We Love Paris. We'll be back with our regular programming next week, but we're going to have some fun today. First of all, can I just say I'm excited that the book is out. But I think I'm even more excited to talk to our guest today, Patricia Wells. Now, Patricia Wells is a personal hero of mine. I'm going to tell you all about that. But she's also considered the foremost authority, American authority on French food.
Wow.
She has been writing, living, teaching, eating, recipe developing, cookbook authoring in Paris and Provence for the last 40 years. And her recipes are amazing. She knows everybody in the food world. She has the respect of everybody in the food world, and we have her on Satellite Sisters today, so we are looking forward to that.
That's the amazing thing that we have her.
Yeah,
from congrats
Paris,
on that too,
right?
Lian.
Right, because we have a guest from Paris on the show. That seems pretty good.
Right. Well, we put these shows together, something like this. I was like, who do we want from Paris? And we batted around a few names. But I was like, there's really only one person I want. It's Patricia Wells. And we happen to share a publisher. So that's how it happened. We got very lucky. So very happy to talk to her today. Also, we're going to share some of our favorite Paris memories and yours. We have a fantastic list of entertaining sisters from Paris that we're going to do with all kinds of books and movies and unusual recommendations for newsletters and Instagram accounts and programs to learn French. That's all going to be in the show. We have our to-do lists and we're going to have a lot of fun. So thank you so much for joining us for our We Love Paris show, because we do love Paris.
Okay, so Lian, this is your fourth novel, Lost and Found in Paris. So can you kind of give us, like, what's this one about? Is it like your other three novels, or where are you going with this one?
So,
other than Paris.
Excellent question, Julie. So I started this book 9 years ago, which is really a long time ago, but it had been in my mind for about 12 years. When I first started writing fiction, Helen of Pasadena was my first one. I sort of envisioned a trio of books, 3 books about contemporary women being inspired by historical women. So right off the bat, before I had ever written a single book, I thought, well, I'll write 3 books. And it's that kind of overconfidence that keeps me going. And so my first one was Helen of Pasadena, that had a Helen of Troy theme. We learned some ancient history. The second one I was originally calling Eleanor of Acquisitions, because it was going to be about Eleanor of Aquitaine, inspiring like someone in the finance business. But then I discovered it's good title, right, Liz?
Yeah.
This is the problem. There was nothing else. Like, there's very little known about Eleanor of Aquitaine. There's not actually a lot of historical detail other than Katharine Hepburn's movie, The Lion.
Right. I was going to say Lion in Winter is pretty much what we know.
Researched.
and then also I know even less about acquisitions. So
finance, I was going to say, not a strong suit for you. You have many strong suits, but yeah.
Yeah. So that one became Elizabeth the First Wife. I decided to go with a Shakespeare / Elizabeth the First theme. And the third book was supposed to be Joan of Arc. So I was combining a contemporary like art person. I hadn't really figured out what she was, and Joan of Arc, the saint, the 14th century saint. So and that's what this book, I changed the title to Lost and Found in Paris, because as I wrote the book, it became much less about Joan of Arc and more about Joan, the art curator. And so I just wanted a broader title. But that's when I started 9 years ago. So it's a book about a woman. She is sort of has fallen into an art career thanks to her famous parents. Her father was a light and space artist here in Los Angeles in the 70s and 80s, sort of a combination of James Turrell and Christo, and was very famous, but then met a tragic death. Her mom was a supermodel because why not?
Why not?
I mean, it's your book. Yes. Unless we need at least one supermodel. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a time when like supermodels married a lot of unattractive rock stars and artists and things like that. They worked in the same world. And then Joan is their only daughter. She thinks of herself as sort of an average woman with above average parents. And after the death of her dad, she just makes some decisions that just aren't great. They aren't great for her. They aren't exactly what she wanted to be doing. So on the 10th anniversary of her father's death, like things kind of come to an head. She's her husband drops a real bomb on her. She has sort of a professional crisis, and she's offered a way out. Go to Paris. You're going to take this piece of artwork. The museum that she works for is selling it. It's called deacquisitioning. They're deacquisitioning this artwork. Go to Paris, enjoy yourself, come back and regroup. But then in Paris, things happen and the artwork disappears and the treasure hunt begins. So that's essentially what that's the broad strokes of the plot.
Well, it's amazing. So, Lian, but you've been to Paris, but you haven't lived in Paris for any length of time. How was that writing a book where it's all about Paris? And that's one of the great things about reading it is, you have all different scenes all over the city. How did you actually research that? Because I really felt like when I read it, like you were like standing on, in the Ile de la Cité or whatever, wherever you were, I really felt like you were there.
Oh, Julie, thank you. I had been to Paris a bunch as a student and in my 20s for a variety of reasons. So, you're right. I've never physically lived there. Both you and Liz, you did your junior years abroad there. I didn't. I did mine in Athens. So, but I had a chance to spend probably all told about 6 weeks there in my 20s, on various trips and backpacking. And then when I had a professional trip there and then did a bunch of other stuff in France, work related. So I spent enough time there to feel like I had a feel for the city, but it had been a long time. I am no longer in my 20s. It had been really 25 years since I'd been there. And contrary to, what you believe from Sex and the City or Hallmark movies, they don't really hand you like tons of money to go research your book. That's not how book advances work.
Oh, no. Oh,
so I had to turn to this little thing called the internet. But you know what? There are so many great blogs and Instagram accounts because every American woman that has ever moved to Paris has started a blog, a newsletter, Instagram account.
Luckily for you.
Yes.
Luckily for me. When I was first putting the story together, I just started searching, here's so-and-so, she is her MA in art. Oh, and now she gives tours of the Louvre. And there's just like 8 million American women or British women doing things like that. So you can definitely get a sense of like the city and working in neighborhoods and what it's like to work there and live there, at least through American or British eyes. I wasn't reading a lot in actual French. I can muddle through some French Instagram accounts too, but that's kind of how I did it, was sort of piecing it together. And then I did have an opportunity after I had written many complete drafts of the book. It was bought and I knew it was going to be out. Then I went to Paris and sort of double checked my work.
I was wondering. Yeah.
So I could, because I did feel like I had the logistics right, but I was missing some of the feeling. And that was going to be something I needed to go for. So then I went to Paris with my son, Colin, when he was over there studying, and we spent a week there, and I checked my steps. And then I went back in and started, filling in, making the Paris scenes lusher, putting in things that were less from memory and more from current day.
Oh, I love that. The other thing that I love in this book is there's a little spice in this book, Lian. There's, there's a little romance. We got some romance going on, and things are happening there. Yes. I liked that element a lot. I think it adds a lot to this book.
Well, the main character, Joan, is only 31, so she's not dead yet. She's only,
and she is in Paris.
She's
in Paris. Okay. Right.
So I started to think about the book, like, say you went to, you went to Paris on vacation and did a few things that you really probably wouldn't normally do in your normal day-to-day life. That's how I started to think about it. That Paris inspires a variety of behavior like that. And Joan is definitely part of that. So yeah, I liked it. I like writing books with romance. For me, that's fun, but it's always I don't think of them as, I wouldn't mind being called a romance book, but it's a part of Joan's journey, but not all of Joan's journey,
right?
Is what I would say. A part of her character arc, but not all of it. And that was important to me too. And, other romances pop up. We don't have to give details, not just Joan.
No, I'm not. Action. Yes. No, that's what I'm saying. That's all the way through. Now, Liz, you love this book. You thought it was a real romp, a real adventure, a page turner. And, you are like, we're racing through this book to get to the end to find out how it all gets resolved.
Right. But what made it such a romp is that all of the characters have very interesting stories. Like the dead father is interesting. The supermodel mother is interesting. Obviously Joan, the people Joan runs into. There's just a lot. I don't know how you think it all up, Lian. I know that sounds super lame to say, but like everyone has something fascinating going on that as a reader, I'm interested in knowing more about them. So that's one of the things I really enjoyed. It's not just Joan's story. There are a lot of complicated emotions expressed by a lot of people in this book, which I love.
Yeah. I did start it a long time ago. And so it just came in sort of drips and drabs. So like the father character is based on, as I said, so James Turrell, the famous light and space artist who is alive, but I've been able to see speak a couple of times because we share an alma mater. He went to Pomona. So that's...
can I just say, just the fact that you chose a light and space artist was interesting to me, because you obviously wanted to be in the contemporary art world, but there are a lot of other more traditional ways you could have gone, even in contemporary art. So hearing about these light and space installations was super interesting.
Yeah. It was challenging, Liz, because you're right. It would have been a lot easier to write about
a painter.
An oil painting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. What an idiot. Well, at one point I started to do a lot of art history research, and I started to just throw a lot of stuff in the book. And then I realized I sound like an idiot. I sound like I learned this on Wikipedia yesterday and put it in my book today. So I felt like I had a handle a little bit on that particular movement, which did start in Los Angeles, and the book starts in Pasadena. So it was sort of, part of it was, geography. Like why I chose that particular art movement and to focus in on, and it was contemporary enough, so I didn't want to lose people with a lot of 14th century Flemish painting, that kind of thing.
And also Paris is the city of light. So
yes, exactly, Liz. That's right.
It all comes together.
Yeah. So no, so the characters come together in pieces, but you'll see when I mentioned all those American expats with blogs, like then that's factored into my book. One of the characters in the book is an American expat with a blog, because that is what happened. And the book is set in 2011. So if the word blog seems kind of dated to you, it's because the book was set 10 years ago. So, and there's a reason for that. But that's the other calculation you have to do, is what was actually happening in 2011. How were people using media? How were people using cell phones? How
Cell
were
phones,
people,
right?
yeah.
What were people wearing?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
How did the internet work? Right.
Yes.
Yes. All
Right.
of those things. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. What was cell phone coverage like? I mean, at one
Mhm.
point, the copy editor came to me and said, you have them smoking in restaurants, and the smoking law went into effect, like 3 months before this scene is actually set. So
for
there shouldn't
God's
be any.
sake.
Well, and if you've been to France, I'm sure they were ignoring that news.
I just, sometimes you got to give it to the copy editor. You're like, fine.
I know,
fine.
but that's very specific.
It's very
feedback.
specific.
Mhm.
So, there's a lot of details when you're writing this, but, I'm grateful for the people who help me stay on track, because you can go in a bunch of different places, and I try to stay on track with the mystery and everything, so to keep it moving.
Well, it certainly did. Lian, I loved it because you do have a junior year abroad theme in it as well. There's a little flashback there. And Liz and I both did our junior year abroads in Paris. And and if I could have started a blog and stayed in Paris, I think I probably would have done that. That wasn't really an option for us, was it, Liz? No.
No, I don't think the internet had not been invented yet.
I think some of our classmates stayed and went to cooking school, stuff like that. But I just love that. And it just, for me, it brought back one of my favorite memories of Paris, which was as a student, we went to the opera house, on occasion. We would buy those cheap student tickets, and we'd sit way up on top in the of the opera house, and we'd look down at all the elegant people. And I don't know what came over us one night. I was there with my friend Linda. We had bought the cheap seats, and we were looking down, and we saw an empty box, like one of the beautiful velvet boxes, red velvet boxes with red velvet chairs. And we just thought, well, sort of like this was in the day. Remember when you go to sports games and you like sneak down to better seats,
Right. Right.
Still do
before
that.
there were
Mhm.
intermission, before they had a lot of ushers, or people didn't have apps or QR codes, and that you can make some moves like that.
Yes.
Get in trouble. So Linda and I, at intermission, we were watching the Magic Flute. At the intermission, we snuck down and we went into this box, and we were sitting there, and the orchestra, the second act was starting, and all of a sudden the door opened, and it was the most elegant, husband and wife there to enjoy the second act of the Magic Flute, and we're in their seats. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. We couldn't say we were sorry. And they were so elegant and so lovely. I remember the man's suit. He said, just sit there, don't say anything. And they sat behind us for the whole second act of the Magic.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. They did not kick us out. They were so elegant they did not do that. That was the longest 40 minutes of my entire life. I still cannot listen to that music from the Magic Flute without thinking about how miserable, embarrassed, mortified that we had done this and we had put these people out. But
oh my God.
So
That's probably the worst thing you ever did in your life, Julie.
But your book is right. You do, sometimes when you're traveling, you're in a special place, you take some risks that you wouldn't normally take. So I thought that was very consistent. And when I read that, I loved the scenes about her junior year abroad, because it brought back memories for me.
Wow. Okay. Well, I was trying to think about my favorite Paris memory. I also spent a year there in my junior year. And then I ended up working in Paris a lot, off and on over the years. For a while, I worked for a French company. And then when I was in the sports business, believe it or not, when I was working on the Women's World Cup in 1999, I started before 99. So in 98, somehow I convinced the people that run the World Cup, my business partner, Rosemary, and I convinced them that we needed to go to the Men's World Cup in Paris in order to really be able to understand the Women's World Cup in America, which of
Good
course,
idea. Yeah.
it's just hilarious thinking about it because they couldn't be less alike. Anyway, so we went to the World Cup in 98 in Paris, and And Rosemary had her husband with her and two of her kids. And we got 2 tickets to the final. And as it turns out, against all odds, because it had never happened before, the French were actually playing in the final. So I thought, well, I don't want to leave Rosemary's husband out. Like, anyway, so I gave my ticket to Greg. So Greg and Rosemary could go to the final together. And I stayed with their kids. And
Wow.
Again, taking a risk you never do, Liz.
I know. I know.
Right.
I know I have a bad reputation in the family of how I care for the children, or just I have looser rules than parents have.
Yes.
Because it's not my job to be their parent.
Yes.
So we, with the 2 tweens, we sat in a cafe in the 5th arrondissement in Paris, not too far from the Seine, watching TV. So you're in a French cafe, there are like 10 TVs up, everyone's yelling and screaming and smoking and drinking. And it was
including the tweens that you were babysitting.
Oh my God, of course. Yes. At that point, I think we might have even jumped in the fountain outside after the French won the game. That's the year the French won the World Cup and beat Brazil, of all things. So we had this fantastic, like, never been more French night. And it's interesting that your story, Julie, is about like French people being so much nicer than they have a reputation.
Yes.
You can imagine, same thing on the night they just won the World Cup. They were hugging everyone. They were so happy. And then Bastille Day was like 2 days later or something. It was the Frenchiest French series of days I've ever had in Paris. And I will never forget it. It was super fun. That city, it's just a city that makes memories, even if you're just sitting in a cafe.
Right.
It's just amazing.
Yeah, we had some good memories, Liz. People wrote on Facebook, and it was just that. Many people just said their memories are like sitting in cafes. Or I like Mark. He just thought walking at night as a young person in their 20s through Paris was dreamy. Mm-hmm. And he said he feels so lucky that he's been there twice, but he just remembers trying espresso in tiny cups and watching people. I liked that.
Tiny cups.
Tiny cups.
Yeah. I liked Jude. Jude said she and her husband took an evening cruise on the Seine while enjoying the lights of Paris along the way. And at the end, the boat circled back around. So the Eiffel Tower now sparkles, and the band on the boat was playing "Oh What a Night," and she and her husband danced on the Seine with the Eiffel Tower sparkling. Jude, what a night! Sounds great. This was one of my favorite memories because it spoke to me. Melissa, she said she did a whirlwind tour. Like she had a 10-hour layover. So this is not the way to do Paris, but she went to the Louvre. They walked over the bridges. They toured the Eiffel Tower. And then she said, we had the best ham and cheese sandwich of our lives. And the sandwiches in Paris are unbelievable.
The croque monsieur. Yeah. I mean, that's it. Yeah. I was getting French fries on the street with mustard. Amazing. Go ahead.
Just the normal. I had a tuna fish sandwich there 4 years ago. I think about that tuna fish sandwich every day. The best tuna fish sandwich. And it was just in their version of a Subway. You just walk in and the sandwiches are all made. It was just unbelievable. I loved that. And then my favorite was Ellen, who, this is a classic. She was 15 or 16 and she went on a bike tour in France through American youth hostels. So of course they ended up in Paris, and they jumped into the Seine with their clothes on and swam around, which is so stupid, Ellen. But she said probably ill-advised, but very memorable. So
it's the kind of thing people do in the movies. So we think we need to do that when we're there.
Right. Right. Well, we had, before we speak to Patricia Wells, she's coming on now, but my memory, one of the reasons I wanted her so much, one of my strongest memories is visiting Paris with my sister, Monica. Now, Monica had not been to Europe before, and I had been a bunch of times, and I was working in Germany at the time. I had a work gig. So we planned months in advance. We were going to meet in Paris. And again, no internet or like texting. We just had to sort of, and it was even hard back in the day, in the 90s, to even make reservations. You'd have to call. And so I said, don't worry, I'll get there. There's that place on the Champs-Elysees. I can just go get a room. They had a hotel booking where all the American students went. And then I'll meet you, here at this X subway station when you get off. I think I must have met her at the airport. I can't even remember, but I got us a room on a beautiful Market Street near the Eiffel Tower. The room was terrible, but it was in our budget and the street was so charming. It was unbelievable. And we didn't have a ton of money. We were not students, but we were not rich. So we took the Patricia Wells guide to Paris. She had this unbelievable food guide to Paris, which is now an app. We're going to talk to her about it. But it was this super detailed arrondissement by arrondissement guide to everything you would want in Paris. And that was our plan. Like we were just going to do, get lunch where she told us to get lunch and get dinner where she told us to get dinner. And we did figure out on our street, one of the places she had recommended, a little cafe for a little, Beaujolais, was right on our street. So we sat there one night and we realized that the cafe was right next to a dry cleaner, which doesn't sound romantic, but you should have seen the Frenchmen coming to pick up their dry cleaning. I mean, we could not believe it. We were both single girls in our 20s sitting there watching these Frenchmen in their those green Loden suits. They wear those green suits. No one else
those big Loden jackets. Yep.
Yeah. And they would just come in and pick up their dry cleaning. We're like, this is the greatest place we've ever been. This cafe next to the dry cleaner. And so one night we decided to splurge and pick one super slightly fancier restaurant that she had mentioned. So we went to the restaurant. I think I actually made reservations. So we got in. It was the Frenchiest French place. Like everyone was smoking and drinking and laughing. And we got the menu. And even though we had both studied French and spoke it, how like menu French is different than the French you learned in high school. We literally didn't recognize one word on the menu.
Okay.
Like
Good word.
there wasn't even a poulet. Like, where is the chicken? It's just all these really specific names of fish that we didn't know. So the waiter took pity on us and he helped us. And we showed him our Patricia Wells book, like we're here. And he was the only one. He spoke a little English and we could manage with our French. And it was just the most delicious meal. Just a fantastic night. And I remember walking home after going to the restaurant, like, this is the greatest night. So it's just a great city, which is why it's so fantastic. So that's why I'm so excited to talk to Patricia Wells. She's a journalist, an author. Her book, The Food Lover's Guide to Paris, is just a perennial favorite. She started as a reporter for the New York Times, and then she went to write for the International Herald Tribune. And that's where I first started reading her when I was, abroad studying my junior year, and I've followed her ever since. She runs her own cooking school, both in Paris and Provence, and she just knows everybody in the food business and everybody knows her. So I'm very excited to talk to our guest, Patricia Wells from Paris. So stay with us, Satellite Sisters and Misters. We'd like to thank BetterHelp for being a sponsor of this episode of the Satellite Sisters podcast. BetterHelp isn't a crisis line. It's not self-help. It's professional counseling done securely online. Go and check out betterhelp.com/satellite. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. It's time for you to start achieving your goals, figuring out what interferes with your happiness, and getting some stuff done about it. Connect in a safe, private online environment, super convenient. You can start communicating in under 48 hours, and you can send a message to your counselor at any time, all without having to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if you need, and it's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. Everything you share is confidential, it's convenient, it's professional, it's affordable, it's BetterHelp. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp, they're recruiting additional counselors in 50 states. So this is what we want you to do here at Satellite Sisters. We want you to start living a happier life today. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor, betterhelp.com/satellite. Okay, join the over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. That's betterhelp.com/satellite. And here's the spelling lesson. It's BetterHelp, HELP, and satellite is spelled SATELLITE. Okay, betterhelp.com/satellite. Thanks, BetterHelp. Who doesn't love to live well, to be perfectly at ease in comfort and style? Hunter Douglas can help you do just that with their innovative window shade designs, gorgeous fabrics, and control systems so advanced they can be scheduled automatically to adjust to their optimal position throughout the day. That's incredible. The shades are smarter than I am, Julie.
Lian, I have Hunter Douglas shades. I cannot tell you how much I love them. Okay. There's such a calming presence, but here, more importantly, it has really helped with my utility bills.
Oh.
I mean, it keeps my house warmer and it keeps my house cooler because of the shades. Okay. I also think it keeps my house quieter. I don't know if that's possible, but the whole experience is amazing.
So you walk in, it's like a Goldilocks moment, like everything feels just right when you walk into your Hunter
Lian.
Douglas home.
Yes, it is a dream come true, my shades. Yes.
Okay, so live beautifully with Hunter Douglas. Enjoy greater convenience, enhanced style, and increased comfort in your home throughout the day. Visit hunterdouglas.com/sisters today for your free Style Gets Smarter design guide with fresh takes, creative ideas, and smart solutions for dressing your window. Oh, it's a free guide. That's great. That's hunterdouglas.com/sisters for your free design guide. hunterdouglas.com/sisters. Well, this is really the heart of our I Love Paris podcast. I am so excited to talk to Patricia Wells. She is long recognized as the leading American authority on French food, and she has lived the life in France that many of us have often fantasized about, and she's written about it extensively, and it's a thrill to welcome you to Satellite Sisters. Patricia, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. And I've loved listening to your podcast and, of course, reading your new book.
Oh, thank you. All right. Starred review, Patricia Wells. I'll take it. When you moved to France in 1980, did you expect to be there for 40 years?
Not at all. My husband and I were both working at the New York Times. He was offered a job. I was a food writer. He was an assistant national editor. And he was offered a job to come to work at the Herald Tribune. And we thought, oh, well, even though technically we were leaving the New York Times, we figured, oh, they'd take us back in 2 years. So we rented out our apartment in New York. And at the end of 2 years, we kind of looked at one another and said, we would speak such better French if we stayed for 3 years. And at the end of 3 years, I got my first book contract, Food Lover's Guide to Paris. Well, that kind of ended that idea of going back to New York. And my husband likes to say, we came for his job and stayed for mine.
Oh, that's a great line. That's a great line. Were you always a Francophile, though, as a food writer and a foodie? France your number one destination?
No. I grew up in Milwaukee, a very, simple middle-class family. But my mother was a great cook. She was Italian. And I guess I grew up thinking I'd always have good food around me. It never occurred to me that I wouldn't. And it probably wasn't until the 60s when I, knew of Julia Child and Craig Claiborne and so on, that I started cooking French, even though I hadn't been to France at that point. But I think now back when I would make cassoulet and things like that I'd never eaten. And I thought, I didn't know what they were supposed to taste like. But little by little, I became obviously more and more in love with France, mostly through the food.
Isn't it amazing what Julia Child did for all of us? I mean, because our mom was in Connecticut making those same things, and she did not grow up eating French food either.
No. But you know how I met Julia? This is unbelievable. When the Food Lover's Guide to Paris came out, she wrote me a fan letter and said, I hope I get to meet you someday. Can you imagine?
Oh, wow.
I hope you have that letter framed. Because
I just have it, of course. You know how things back then, you just thought you saved it and I could kill myself. But anyway, I have lots of other souvenirs from Julia, and we became good friends, and she used to come down to our place all the time. We used to eat together a lot, and I learned so much from her. But what's interesting? I've probably learned more about married love than food from her. She and Paul, she was so good to Paul, so loving. And that really influenced me a lot.
That really chokes me up, Patricia. That's so nice to hear. I think that's what we from the movies and the books, we think Julia and her husband were like that, but what a lovely friendship that you all had. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Tell you one story is they both came to my 40th birthday party, which is like yesterday, in Provence. And, Paul was a photographer, and she wanted a portrait or a picture of Walter and me standing in the vineyard, in front of the vineyard. So she's taking it, and Paul keeps saying, do it this way, do it this way. I said, Paul, first we'll do it my way, and then we'll do it your way.
I think that is such solid advice for all couples, right?
Yeah. All the time now.
All the time.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Paris, because it is our Paris show and you're talking to us from Paris today. Why do you think we as Americans romanticize Paris so much? Is it really that romantic on a day-to-day basis, or are we just living in a fantasy world?
I'm probably not the right person to ask, because I am so in love with this city. I mean, I could cry almost every day. In fact, the last few days I've been just walking around the neighborhood, because since COVID and so many things change, and if you're not there all the time, here's a new shop, here's a clothes shop, here's another, and every single day I look at something, I take a picture of a building. It doesn't always have to do with food. Often it's just architecture or flowers, or the Luxembourg Gardens is like a heaven.
Mm-hmm.
I think France really, I know that there are people who criticize and say it's too dirty and that the bike lanes are all bad. But I don't know, I just block all that out. I block all the negative out, except the dirty streets sometimes. In fact, whenever I see a street sweeper, I thank him. I want to give him a little money to keep going. No, I just think there is so much history here, so much beauty. You don't even have to do anything, just walk around with your eyes open and you're happy, I think. I mean, I am.
Well, Liz and Julie both spent a year there study abroad. So Julie, I'm going to put you on the spot. Like, what was your experience then? It was a while ago, Jewel, but did you have that same feeling?
I mean, it was a while ago. And Patricia, I'm sure when you first went to Paris, it really was a foreign country, right? I mean,
are you kidding? I mean, I cried a lot the first 2 months. I mean, it was hard because I was working by myself alone and as a freelance, and didn't speak much French, and I cried, but we were still happy, Yeah.
Oh yeah. Just everything was a delight there. I mean, I lived with a French family near the Luxembourg Gardens where, so I walked through there on my way to read, to go to classes, I mean, it was an amazing experience.
It is. And it still is. It still is. And I think that even though things can fall apart, I think all of France does a pretty good job of keeping things up and beauty, considering the beauty of things. And I don't know.
Well, what are your favorite things to do in Paris? I named a few, but if there are other, like, I imagine you just trying a different restaurant every day. Is that wrong? Are you constantly seeking out like the best bread, a new place for coffee?
I had friends, a foodie friend visiting for the last 2 weeks, and we went out for dinner almost every night, and some days lunch and dinner. We had a great time. And in June, when the restaurants, the outdoor restaurants were open, like cafes and so on, but no indoor until this last June. And a friend of mine from Dallas, in fact, came for 2 weeks, and I think we had 20 meals in that time. And it was amazing. I tried to do new places, old places, places I loved or places I'd only heard about. And it was fascinating. I continue to do that. Maybe not as much as I did, 30, 40 years ago. And we're not always here because we do spend time in Provence. And also I love to cook. So you can't, cook for dinner and go out at the same time. But
well, your food app is your book that you mentioned that Julia Childs wrote you the fan letter about, that really changed many lives, including mine. I remember taking it on my first trip to Paris, the Food Lover's Guide to Paris. Now it's an app, and it is a wonderful app. Are you constantly contributing to that as well? Or do you have a team working on that now?
No,
Patricia?
I have my assistant who actually helps with all of the prices and times and so on and so forth. And in fact, tomorrow we're going to a restaurant we hadn't been to for a long time. And I try to keep it up as best I can, but it's hard. It's hard because the one thing that I did learn during COVID is that I gave up a lot of things for just dealing with food every night, And so really post-COVID, we've been doing things like going to the New Philharmonic and going back to Châtelet and doing more theater and stuff like that we just never had time for. All we ever did was go out to dinner.
That's a high class problem to have, but I see that.
I know. Well, it's funny. What made me think of it is one time Marcella and Victor Hazan said to me, I was probably 40 years old, and they said, "What have you given up for your career?" And I kind of thought, well, that's a stupid question. But now I can say, I gave up a lot of reading books. I gave up a lot of, going out to the theater and museums and so on at night, especially. So I'm trying to kind of make up for that a little bit and like reading your book.
Thank you. I'm glad you made time for that. I do want to recommend to anybody who is traveling to Paris to download Guide, the app, because what's great about it is it's arranged by arrondissements. So it's like if you're standing there, you can find what you need and it's tracking you, and it's fantastic. I wish I had that app when I wrote the book, because that would have been
had more restaurant scenes in there. Oh, okay.
Patricia, in addition to everything, you run 2 cooking schools, which of course is my fantasy. Just attending your cooking school for a week. You do weeks in Paris and weeks in Provence.
Right.
Well, the people who come to your cooking school, what are they looking for really? I mean, I know they're looking to get, up their cooking game, but is there something else that you're providing them, do you think?
Well, I think one of the reasons I don't do one-day classes, because I figure, what can you teach anybody in one day? I feel I want to teach them a philosophy, a sense of entertaining cooking, enjoying cooking. And at the end of the week, we all vote on the best taste of the week. Everybody gets to vote on the one dish that they thought was the best. And then I ask for takeaways, like, okay, how is this week going to change you? And, it's just great. People say, oh, when I'm organized, because I talk about organization, mise en place, making sure you have all your food, put together, all your ingredients there. And someone, they'll say, wow, when I'm really organized, I'm less anxious in the kitchen. And a lot of things, one of my philosophies is simplicity. Like if you can take away 2 ingredients, take them away if they don't add anything. And people really respond to that. They're not looking for fussiness. They're looking for something that tastes good. Mm-hmm. So it's really a joy to see people at the end of the week, especially, have really taken on something new in their lives, or they'll just say, wow, now I can go back and cook again and not be just same old stuff. So it's a great pleasure. It really is.
Is there a different vibe between your Paris cooking school and your Provence school?
Well, certainly, because, there's a difference between the big city and a little town in Provence. Paris is much more, I wouldn't say the menus are all that different, although everything is very seasonal. So, we go to a lovely market, the President Wilson Market. We eat at a great 3-star restaurant. And I think it's a little more confined because we're in my apartment, which is not huge. And in Provence, it's just open air. We've got someone once said, boy, you should have a lot of places to eat. We have at least 3 places outside and 2 places indoors. So, it's just more expansive. And we have basically, if you count the outdoors, we have at least 3 or 4 kitchens. So,
what every home needs.
That's right.
Yes.
I need more kitchens. I'm going to get some more kitchens.
The idea of coming and learning to cook in your kitchen.
I
Wow,
know.
that's amazing.
And cooking on Julia Child's stove.
Wow.
Oh.
How'd you end up with Julia Child stove?
Well, she used for quite a few years, she still had her house in Provence, further south up than we are. And she would take the TGV, the fast train to Avignon, which is about 40 minutes from us. And then she'd come and stay overnight with us and then go on to her home. And I knew that this was going to be her last trip. She was going to be selling the home, and, Paul was no longer around and so on. So I thought, wow, having Julia Child stove would be like having Freud's couch. So I said, and I didn't, I knew she was leaving the house and stuff. And I said, well, Julia, could I buy your stove? She said, no. And so I thought, well, okay, I don't know what I was going to do with it anyway. So she went to bed. And the next morning she got up, she says, I changed my mind. You can have the stove if you replace it with a new one. Well, so we went to Darty, got a gas stove and did the exchange, and that was it.
Wow.
But it's so funny when I read like some of her last stuff, and I don't know how she did all the things she did in that stove, because I think she had it in the 70s. Oh, she even sent me she sent me the catalog and I think the bill of sale from the
Oh,
stove.
great. Oh.
It was just, she was so organized in that way. And I still have the envelope she used when she sent it, because it has about 45, 1 centime stamps. And I'm trying to use up all my stamps.
Well, Patricia, you can't see this, but I'm actually holding up my 1991 copy of Simply French, your cookbook that I have used constantly since 1991. But in this cookbook is the most wonderful recipe for roast chicken, the grandmother's roast chicken. And this is the technique I use. And I know that Ina Garten's roast chicken has gotten a lot of publicity lately. So I wonder, would you and Ina ever do a roast chicken off? Is there a Food Network roast off in the future?
I don't think so. We love to cook together, but no, I don't think so. To tell you the truth, I'm not sure. I know her recipe is famous, but I don't in my head know it.
That's okay, because yours is delicious. I mean, you do have to keep rotating that bird, but it's really worth it. It's really worth it. I know we're wrapping up here. I feel like we could talk to you all day, but I just wanted to circle back a little bit to Paris. If you had to describe a perfect day in Paris, what does that look like for you?
Okay, it would have to be kind of a warmish, sunny day.
Okay.
To order that up. And I would have coffee on my terrace in the morning, and I would be working on my menu for the evening, because I would have a dinner party for 6 to 8 friends, good friends. Hopefully the weather would be good and we could eat on the terrace. And I'd walk to the President Wilson Market, which takes about an hour, but it's beautiful. I walk along the Seine. And I would do my marketing. And if it wasn't too heavy, I'd walk back with it. If it was heavy, I would just take the bus back, the 63 bus that goes right from there to here. And I'd cook all afternoon and sip wine and have a nice dinner.
That sounds like a perfect day anywhere.
Yes, for anyone. Yes. We'll be right
I'm going
over.
to meet you on the bus. Okay. I'd be glad to carry your groceries for you. Yes.
Okay, terrific.
Well, we can't thank you enough. This has just been an absolute delight and a personal thrill to talk to you, Patricia. Thank you so much for spending time with us on Satellite Sisters and really taking us to Paris. Wonderful. Great to speak with you.
Really wonderful. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Patricia.
Well, Liz, it's just perfect timing that we're talking about Green Chef, one of our favorite sponsors here at Satellite Sisters. Not that we pick favorites, but we do enjoy Green Chef because it's a CCOF certified meal kit company, and they make eating well easy with plans to fit every lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat more balanced meals, Green Chef offers a range of recipes to suit your preference. And Liz, no doubt people are inspired by our previous guest, Patricia Wells, to do more cooking in their own home.
No, I agree. And I think Patricia would approve of the fresh organic ingredients that come in the Green Chef box. You know, I'm always satisfied. And I was thinking, have any of the things I've made lately been French? And they do have a lot of Mediterranean recipes. So I think the chicken with pistou, that sounds a little bit Francais.
Oh, oui, oui. Yes, yes.
Anyway, I love it because it's just enough cooking for me. It's slightly ambitious without being over my head. And the results are always delicious, Lian. What can I say?
Yeah, it's super convenient and easy. They have pre-made and pre-measured sauces, dressings, and spices. So you get, like, yes, we always like to say about Green Chef, layers of flavor there.
Layers.
You don't have to go to the grocery store, Liz. That's totally not your thing. And don't worry, because
Nope.
Green Chef comes right to you, pre-portioned, easy to follow recipes. And they save you so much time by cutting down on weekly meal planning, prepping, and grocery shopping. And the end result is just delicious. Sitting around in your home, eating delicious food. That sounds like a great deal, but we have an even better deal. Here's the thing. Even if that sounds good, this is better. Go to greenchef.com/sisters130 and use code sisters130 to get $130 off plus free shipping. That's right. greenchef.com/sisters130 and use code sisters130 to get $130 off. Unbelievable.
That is a good deal. Yeah.
It's a great deal. It's a great deal. Thank you, Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well. Liz and Julie, you know, I have a small business here in my house. That's right. It's Lian Dolan Incorporated. And I'm writing things and I'm sending things out. And I'm part of the larger book buying, book business ecosystem. And you know who helps me keep my small business running? Stamps.com. All right.
Oh.
Yeah, that's right. Time is money, Julie. And I don't want to waste either with repeated trips to the post office. Julie, I have things to write. Okay. I can't be standing in line at the post office. And with Stamps.com,
Oh, no one wants to stand in line with you at the post office.
That's very specific. And you're right. No one wants to stand in line with me at the post office.
No one.
Yes. Good point, Julie. Stamps.com, I can skip that trip and focus on what takes my small business to the next level. And, you know, that's writing more. That's shipping more books out. That's shipping more promotional material out. That is getting stuff in the mail and getting stuff done. Stamps.com lets me print postage right from my computer and saves me time and money in the process. So less time at the post office, more time making my customers happy. Whether you're sending office invoices, a side hustle Etsy shop, or a full-blown warehouse shipping out orders, well, I'm somewhere in between all three of those.
Yeah.
Stamps.com is going to make your life easier. All you need is a computer and a standard printer. No special supplies or equipment. You're up and running in minutes, printing official postage for any letter, any package, anywhere you want to send. Fantastic. So stop overpaying for shipping with Stamps.com. Sign up with promo code SISTERS for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, free postage, and a digital scale. I love my digital scale. I just like knowing what things weigh, you guys. I like it.
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
Okay. So no long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click the microphone at the top of the page, and enter the code SISTERS. Stamps.com, click the microphone at the top of the page, enter the code SISTERS. Thanks, Stamps.com, for keeping me running.
Oh my goodness. Actually, speaking to Patricia Wells in Paris, I got to say, this is Cooking with Liz speaking now. Just hearing her say the words mise en place, it made me so happy.
No. Liz, I almost fell over when she said that. It's like, do you say that every week on me on Cooking with Liz, don't you?
Because I learned it on Top Chef, Julie. I learned it on TV, but she learned it from like French chefs. So anyway.
I was scared you were going to try to engage with her. I actually was like, please don't let Liz say anything.
Okay. That's all I want to say is mise en place. That's it. I love your mise en place, Patricia.
Well, it was just wonderful. I mean, it's just wonderful to talk to her. That was fantastic. If you're going to Paris, absolutely download that app, The Food Lover's Guide to Paris. It's fantastic. I have it on my phone, even though even though I don't have any trips to Paris planned. It's just arranged by arrondissements. It's super small.
I think that's a nice mental vacation to just
yes.
to pick out a restaurant for dinner. Yeah, in Paris. I like that, Lian. I think I'm going to download that app too.
Good one. Hey, I just want to remind you, my book tour does start this week. I'm going to try not to bombard you week after week after week with book tour stuff. I know we have other stuff to talk about on Satellite Sisters, but this week the kickoff is at Vroman's. It's on the 6th, tomorrow night. If you're listening to the show right when it drops, it's on April 6th at 7 p.m. I'll be in conversation with Rico Galliano. I think we're going to have a party there, so I'm looking forward to that. If you're in Northern California, I will be at Book Passage in Corte Madera on Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m. I know that some Satellite Sisters and Misters are coming. I'm excited that my friend Marianne's mom is coming, and she's bringing her 2 friends, and they're all over 90. So I'm looking forward to seeing Marianne's mom. That's going to be awesome. I'll have a lot of college friends there at Book Passage. Fantastic. And then for those of you virtually, I am starting my Crowdcast book clubs next week, the 13th of April. I will be doing my first one, and that I will be doing 2 actually. Wednesday, April 13th. I'm not doing a lot of events that week because it's Easter week and a lot of spring breaks and things like that. But 2 virtual events for people who have read the book. These will be book clubs. You can ask me all the details. So if you're on it and you've read it and you want to talk about it, I'm doing one at 7 p.m. Eastern and one at 7 p.m. Pacific. So make sure you sign up for the right one. You will need to register with an email, but it's free, it's fun, it's informal. I did them for the Sweeney sisters. You don't have to be on camera. You can be in your pajamas. It doesn't matter. You can come on camera if you want. So I'm doing those. Those start Wednesday, April 13th. Definitely for people who have read the book. I will not hold back. There will be spoilers, but I would love to see people there. So, and then I'm going to do another one in May and another one in June. So there will be, if you don't get to the book this month, you can get to it next month. But those will be real fun book clubs that I'm doing.
Oh, I think I'll sign up for one of those. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Lena's always really good with those. So
thanks, Joel. Thanks.
Okay. Well, Entertaining Sisters, everybody get the book. Check, do that. But I mean, I think we should all just go to Paris for a while. So I have put together a little mini Parisian film festival for you. As I said, I did my junior year abroad. I returned for my senior year at Smith College. And of course, I had to take a French cinema class where I learned to call movies films. That was my big learning. But here are 4 films that I think if you grab some croissants and a pot of café au lait, you can have a delightful day. First, Le Ballon Rouge. Okay. I just saw it a while ago. It's magnificent. It's charming. Be sure to check that out. How about Amelie? Have you all seen that movie? Did you love that? I mean,
Lian, didn't you go to the Amelie Cafe when you were there?
We did. Because my son Colin, he loves that movie. He's a big film fan, and he just loves Amelie. And I forced him to go on this tour of Montmartre with me. And when he saw the Amelie Cafe, his whole attitude changed. And then we went back and had lunch there. It was fantastic. It's charming, super charming.
Okay. And you can't have a Paris Film Festival without a Catherine Deneuve vehicle. So I think everybody needs to see Belle de Jour. Catherine Deneuve is playing a prostitute, of course. You
got to have one of those.
Okay. Yeah. And she's smoking a lot of cigarettes. So it is very French. There's a lot of infidelity. There's a lot of passion, and it's all good. And then finally, you have to see the classic Jules et Jim. Okay. That is a winner. So there you have the next time you're held up or it's raining, you finish Lian's book, then you can have your own mini Paris Film Festival. How about that?
I like it. Nice. I'll put links to all that stuff in the show notes, Jules, so people can sort of find those. Yeah, Jules et Jim, that's Francois Truffaut, right? So
yes.
You gotta punch that name on your list. So, well, I'm gonna throw in a few more films, just things that when I thought about my favorite Paris films, what were they? First, the French film is Breathless, or Au bout de souffle.
Oh yeah.
Right. So that, you got to check that one out. That was Jean-Luc Godard's first. That's Le Nouvelle Vague, the new wave, people. This is it. This is the newest of the new wave, starring Jean-Paul Belmondo and Jean Seberg. And the two things I remember most from that movie, I remember I loved it. She sells the International Herald Tribune, Lian. She was one of, they used to have like young women on the streets just selling the paper. So in that movie, she's selling the International Herald Tribune. And she also has the world's best haircut. Every time I get my hair cut really short, I want to come out looking like Jean Seberg in Breathless. That has never been successful, but anyway, you'll see what I mean when you see the film. Then I was thinking, so that's a French film. But then I was thinking about American films set in Paris and the ones that are either romantic or super fun. The super fun. Did you ever see French Kiss with Meg Ryan and Kevin Kline?
Yes. I love it.
Hilarious.
Yes.
This is a funny romantic. It's shot all over France. A lot of it is in Paris, and Kevin Kline is the Frenchman. So it's Kevin Kline in a French accent. So right there, hilarity ensues. And he's like a thief of some kind, like a jewel thief or something. Meg Ryan goes to try to win back her boyfriend, who is Timothy Hutton. And this is Meg Ryan and Timothy Hutton when they were both in their super cute phases. Like, this is the 90s. So again, I just want to say Meg Ryan's hair in this movie,
I know.
super
haircut.
There are a lot of us who wanted her hair. Yeah.
That choppy haircut looks great on her. I never successfully pulled that one off either. And then the most romantic of all the Paris movies, I think, Richard Linklater did that 3-part series that was like Before Midnight, Before Sunset, Before Sunrise, that whole thing. So part 2 is Before Sunset, takes place in Paris, and it's Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. And Lian, you'd like this one because Ethan Hawke is on a book tour. He's an author, but he's hoping to find a woman he had this super special night with years ago, which was the first movie. Anyway, all they do is walk around Paris. That's the entire plot, is walking and talking, walking and talking, walking and talking. And so super like romantic Americans she's French, in Paris. So all three of those I would recommend, along with the cinema that Julie recommended.
Yes. The films that I had suggested. Liz has movies I'm recommending.
I know, mine are totally movies.
Okay, well, the other part of entertaining, if we are staying in Paris, is that we need a style guide, right, girls? We need to really perfect that, French girl style, that's nonchalant, it's elegant, the Parisian woman. So Lian, here's the list, 10 items. I have some for you. I have some for Liz, some for me, some for all of us that we can adopt. Okay, Lian, you've got to get a sweet sundress. Okay, it's going to get hot there. You're going to be on book tours. French women always have a sweet sundress, romantic wallpaper florals on the dress. You need flounce, you need bows. It's very chic. Okay, and I want you to pair that with some French feminine flats. Okay, flats. You can see it, Lian. Do you see that look? Okay. Lian, you're silent. You're not.
No, I see it. I'm nodding. Yes. I mean, I'm going with the Rothies. Those are my flats.
Okay. Well, find some. You have your flats. Those are feminine flats. That's very French. That's one of the items. Liz, I'm going to put you in a different look. Now, you've been to the French Tennis Open. Yes. And what does everyone have on their heads at the French Tennis Open in May, Liz? They have a woven sun hat, right?
Yes.
You need a great hat, Liz. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, for that Parisian style. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
I want you to get a nice woven hat. There are a lot of choices out there, and you're going to pair this with something that all French women have, the cool ones. They have trousers, Liz, white trousers. Can't you see it? Can't you see it coming together as a look? And then the third item is you got to pair that with a lovely little romantic, chic woven bag. Okay.
A woven bag. Okay.
You get the bag, you get the trousers. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And I get Jean Seberg's haircut.
Okay. Oh, Liz, you're going to be
brings the whole thing together.
Okay. All right. But we can't wear those sundresses and trousers every day. We also all need a romantic blouse. Okay. poofy sleeves. You can have long sleeves, Liz. I know how strongly you feel about that.
About sleeves.
Lian, you need to add a little poof in your life. Okay. I think
true.
it would be good for the book tour. Okay. You've got a lot of events coming up. All right. That can happen. For me, I am going to go with a classic because I bought it when I was in my junior year abroad. The maritime shirt that was a first French sailors, blue and white shirt. Okay. Oh, those are winners. Okay. Everybody can go out and get that right away because that look never dies. They're all different varieties, short sleeves, long sleeves. You can have stripes, different colored stripes. Okay. I am aiming for a bohemian white dress because apparently that's what French girls wear too. Now I know I wore one for my high school graduation, and it's just a question of whether
It's been a while since you've rocked the boho
in this season of my life, I can rock the bohemian white dress. Okay. Who's with me? Anyone else going with the bohemian white dress? No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, okay. You got to find the right one. You know, that's hard. Yeah.
Okay. And then finally, here's the other recommendation coming from the editorialist guide. They're suggesting that if you really want the full French chichi look of the Parisian woman, that you need a retro bikini. Now, you know what I'm talking about. Top and the granny pants.
Like the Brigitte Bardot bikini.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
Okay. I say if we have a satellite sister out there that is rocking the retro bikini, we want to see pictures of it.
That's true.
It won't be us, but we encourage you.
Yes. I think those are excellent suggestions. And if you pair that with a copy of Lost and Found in Paris, perfect, right?
Perfect.
Julie, those are good. I did buy a little dress last week with the floral prints that I will be wearing to a couple of events. Now, it's not technically a sundress, but I'm going to say it is. I'm going to say it is now. So, and I was going to wear it with my Rothy's flats.
Okay, there you go. You have it. That's a look. So we're going to put this link to this article, and so we all can adopt this French Parisian look for the summer.
All right, we got so many great recommendations for various Paris entertaining sisters things, from podcasts to newsletters to Instagram accounts to movies to everyone recommending Call My Agent, the TV show, which is great. So I'm actually going to put that all in our newsletter this week. So if you're not subscribed to Pep Talk, this would be the week to do it. I'm going to kind of put all those together so we're not just giving big lists on the air. But there were a couple of suggestions I wanted to mention. Peggy, thinking outside the box, Tour de France. That is a great thing to watch.
Yeah.
In the summer, it takes you all over France and finishes in Paris. And even if you don't care about the bike riding, they do have like spectacular scenery and aerial photography, and you do get a feel for the country. So Tour de France, a great one. Okay. This made me laugh. Luann is trying to learn French. So she has found a website where they give you the news in slow French.
I like that.
Slow French is an excellent idea because the French are super fast.
Yes. So,
they speak très vite, as they say.
Okay, I'm going to check that out. Slow French.
Slow French. So we'll put the link to that in the newsletter for sure. And then I just want to, and then Christine, who's a real Francophile, and several other people recommended the podcast, The Earful Tower, which is not Eiffel Tower, Earful Tower. They said is very charming. It's French, great guests, and it's an English podcast, but it's all about the expat life in France. So that sounds super fun. And then just want to shout out to Rena, who is a Satellite Sisters listener and a member of our Facebook group. She recommended the Broadway version of An American in Paris. They like 5 years ago, it was on Broadway, received like 12 Tony nominations, and they taped it. And she said, it was better live. She worked on the show. So I was like, what did you do on the show? She was the company manager of both the pre-Broadway tryout in Paris, and then was with the show as the company manager when they went to Broadway. And she said we're the first
Wow.
American show that ever did a pre-Broadway tryout in Paris. She said it was very difficult, quite a challenge, but unbelievable. So Rena, fantastic. That's great. And they did a filmed version of the Broadway show, which was supposed to be magnificent. So Rena, thank you for that recommendation. And thank you for your service to the Broadway theater community.
Oh,
We appreciate
yes.
that here at Satellite Sisters. So all this is going to be in the newsletter and pep talk this week. Also, my Spotify playlist is happening. So we, too much stuff to list here on the podcast, but it's all going to be in the newsletter. Whew, Paris is fun. It's fun to talk about, right? Why not set a book in Paris if you can, right?
Why not? Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. If you're not a member of our Facebook group, we encourage you to join. It's just the nicest corner of the internet. People are solving each other's problems all week long. I mean, this week we had one listener. She's trying to plan a rehearsal dinner in Houston for about 30 people. She didn't know where to have it. Boom, 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 boom. The Houston Satellite Sisters, Misters and Smisters put down their list. She has booked a restaurant in Houston for the rehearsal dinner in a matter of days. That
Wow.
happened
It's
on our
we
Facebook
are a
group.
powerful nation, Lian. Yes.
So, many other things like that. Also, would love to have you subscribe to Pep Talk and over at Instagram or at Sat Sisters or at Lian Dolan if you want to follow along on my book tour.
Yeah, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Oh, the
Remember, we have-
YouTube, Liz. Yeah.
We have a new YouTube channel and we do post the podcast on the YouTube channel now. I mean, you're not getting video, you're just getting the podcast, but it's on YouTube, should you desire.
Video is under discussion, but there's resistance. Resistance.
And that's, of course, that's where the Cooking with Liz videos are.
Yeah.
So, we have actual video on the YouTube channel and then we have the podcasts on the YouTube channel.
All right. We would like to thank Patricia Wells, our guest, for joining us today. Amazing to talk to her. Thank you, Patricia. Such an honor. A big thanks to our engineer, Sergio Enriquez, who's piecing this whole show together. We appreciate that. Emily Loudermilk does our graphic design. We can't wait to see what she cooks up for this show. Follow us at Sat Sisters to see Emily's designs. Okay, our Parisian must-do list. Usually we do a to-do list, but we
Mhm.
decided to make this Paris themed must-dos when you're in Paris. Liz, what do you think?
Okay, if I just had like one day, Lian, that
Mhm.
day must include sitting in a cafe, eating oysters and drinking Sancerre. So, you know how I feel about oysters. It was
Yeah.
the most recent episode of Cooking with Liz, just me learning to open an oyster. So I looked up oyster bars in Patricia Wells' Food Lover's Guide to Paris. So she recommends, the word for oyster in French is huître, Huitre. So this place is called Huîterie, which I did not pronounce very well, Huîterie Régie, so Regis, and it's 3 Rue de Montfaucon in the 6th arrondissement. So that's where I'll be at lunchtime today, Lian.
Okay. Ooh, ooh la la, sounds delicious.
Okay, this is Julie. I'm heading to the Luxembourg Gardens. Okay, as I said, I used to walk through the garden every day on my way to class, to my language lessons at Reed Hall on my junior year abroad. But I would go. I would stop first at a patisserie, and I'd get a baguette and a chocolate bar. I'd make myself a chocolate bar sandwich, which are delicious,
Delicious.
and only to be eaten in Paris. And I'd people watch. So
Mm.
that's my day. How about you, Lian?
When I was there a couple of years ago with Colin, I do not regret a single croissant that I ate. I mean, the croissants at my hotel, they were so unbelievable. And then we walked like 9 miles a day, and I just, those croissants, I mean, they're unbelievable. So eat the croissant and take a walk. No matter where you are in Paris, there's a wonderful croissant near you, and then you can take a spectacular walk. So that's my Paris must-do list. Eat that
Nice.
croissant. Oh, sisters, thank you. This has been a lot of fun. I feel like it's really launched now. Glad we
Yes.
were able to do this show today live.
Kicking
It's
off
great.
an adventure in Paris with you. It's very exciting for us too, Lian.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, everyone, have a great week. And don't forget, call your satellite sister.